What's up, people? This is Wale. I'm very happy to have you here. And in today's video, we are going to be doing something different. So I just want you to stay back, relax, grab a snack because this is going to be a long video. Thank you. And without wasting your time, let's jump right into the business of the day, which is the 7 books I read this year that changed my life. I don't want you to see my face. I want you to see the books that I read. As you can see, 7 of them. These are not the only books that I read this year. I read a lot of PDFs, but because these ones are paperback, I think they have quite a number of relevance. So I believe these books are going to be of help to you, and I'm going to review them one by one in this video. So starting from the one I consider the least, because these books have hierarchy and you want to hear about the last one, which is actually the best. So you should have to stick around on this video to find out the best book for you, and this book can last you a lifetime. So from the list, number 1 is this book, An Enemy Called Average. I got it for 1,500 naira. So I believe the worth too is quite relative to the book. And the name of the book is An Enemy Called Average. And I found out after reading the book that it's the book that is average, because it was filled with a lot of things that you already know and things that you're already practicing. That is for people who want to change their lives. So it's not like I saw too many novel ideas in the book. I don't want to discredit the book totally, because as you can see on your screen, there's something I saw in the book that made me laugh, and it had a lot of inside jokes in the book. So if you want to get the book, it was written by John Mason, and it's actually a Christian. I didn't buy it to read it as a Christian book, but I started reading it. I found out that it had a lot of Christian truths, and that is why I even rate it at all, because anything that is based on Christ is valuable. So the first one, An Enemy Called Average. The second one, as a matter of importance, I read it at the beginning of this year, and the name of the book is, you don't want to see the pack, you don't want to see the cover, because I picked this book. I picked it actually somewhere lying around the house. Maybe rats has chopped a part of it, but oh boy, it's shame they catch me to show you this book. But the name of the book is Never Give Up by Joyce Meyer. And I believe this book was gotten by my brother. It was my brother that bought this book, but I believe he didn't read it. But I read it for myself. It's a good book, especially if you are, at a down point in your life where you don't know, you are looking for your purpose for your life. You are looking for satisfaction. You are looking for a purpose in your life, and you are believing God will help you find it and fulfill it. So at the back of this book they wrote, I believe God has a purpose for you, and I urge you not to settle for anything less. He talked about hope. He talked about no condemnation under Christ. The kind of things Joyce Meyer would write. When I read it, I really got a lot of valuable insights from it, and I hope to read it again and again and again. Good one from Joyce Meyer. This is the number 2 book. Number 3 is from Joyce Meyer too, and it's called Battlefield of the Mind. Now this is a $1 million book. Before I read this book, I used to have doubts on my mind about certain things, and even though I've read a couple of books on psychology and all, but none of them talked about the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ. The mind of Christ. These things are not really easy to imbibe in our lives, but I guess you have to read this book to understand what I'm trying to say. But it's called The Battlefield of the Mind. Something I would take home from this book is that Joyce Meyer talked about your mind as a battlefield between the good and the bad side. The good being the mind of Christ, what God has placed in your heart to achieve as a human being, and the negative part, which is the bad side, which is the limiting beliefs we have of ourselves, temptations, and everything that comes from the devil. So she, made a gold mine with this book. This book is beautiful. Even though I have some resentments against Joyce Meyer and her message, which is that she rarely teaches about the judgment of Christ. She rarely teaches about, sin as a reason why we fail in life. She rarely teaches about that, but, about this book, the book was so nice. It's still so nice. She talked about faith. She was talking about Abraham, about doubt and unbelief. It reads, Abraham had been given a promise by God that he would cause him to have an heir from his own body. Many years had come and gone, and still there was no child as a result of Abraham and Sarah's relationship. Abraham was still standing in faith, believing what God has said would come to pass. As he stood, he was being attacked with thoughts of doubts, and the spirit of unbelief was pressing him to disobey God. This is a beautiful part of this book. You can imagine the life of Abraham. I can imagine the life of Abraham. And when I imagine that, it's unimaginable. Because how could you change your name from High Father, which is Abram, to Abraham, which means father of all nations? And for 20 years, you were calling yourself father of all nations, but you didn't have even one child. It must be hard being Abraham. It must be so difficult being the man called Abraham at the time he existed. It must be so difficult being Abraham as a human being. But faith was what carried him along. Faith in God was what carried him along. So this book is beautiful. And let's read the back. It says, worry, doubt, confusion, depression, anger, and feelings of condemnation. All these are attacks on the mind. If you suffer from negative thoughts, take heart. Joyce Meyer has helped millions win all these important battles, and she can help you too. In her most popular bestseller ever, the beloved author and minister shows you how to change your life by changing your mind. She teaches you how to deal with thousands of thoughts you have every day and focus your mind to think the way God thinks. And she shares her trials, tragedies, and ultimate victories from her own marriage, family, and ministry that led her to wondrous, life-transforming truths, and reveals her thoughts and feelings every step of the way. Something you must know about this woman, Joyce Meyer, was that growing up, she was abused by her own father, her own blood dad. You could imagine that your own papa, your own father, is the person abusing you. Not the one preventing others from abusing you, but he is the one abusing you. And she pulled through. And this book, which is her best seller ever, explained to us the battlefield of the mind and how she overcame all that. So this is a beautiful book, and this is the third book I read. We are coming up as a matter of importance, and this one was a very beautiful book I read by Fredrick K.C. Price, How Faith Works. This is another beautiful Christian book, and as always, I found it lying around the house. So one thing this book explained to me was that faith is acting on what you believe. For example, I have faith that I'm going to impact millions of people. I'm going to impact thousands of people. I'm going to impact a lot of young Nigerians to live the fraudulent lifestyle over to building successful and legitimate businesses online. And that is why I'm sharing my experience with people. So if not for the word faith, I wouldn't have been doing this. I would have still been doing fraud, engaging in weed and very evil lifestyle of smoking, dropping out of school, and living a purposeless life. And if you are living a life without purpose, there is no faith in your life. There is no good faith, because a lot of people think that faith is only good, but there is actually bad faith. That is why they have a word like good faith, because there's a bad faith. Everyone has faith, but on what? A lot of people have faith in their possessions. A lot of people have faith in their partners. A lot of people have faith in their wives. A lot of people have faith in the government. A lot of people have faith in the educational system. But then this book explained where you should develop your faith from. Let me read a portion of this book that, as you can see, I marked it. He said, "Let me say it again. The world economic system is not designed for you to get ahead. It is designed to keep you chained to the wheels of industry, so that those who are in control can grow richer and you can grow older. You cannot get ahead in the system, not legally. It is not designed for you to legally get ahead, because if you get ahead legally, you become independent. And if you become independent, you cannot be controlled anymore. So if they keep you under control, they can manipulate you the way they want, so that they can enjoy the benefits of your work and labor." Now, this is just a portion from this book. It's not what the book is talking about. The book further went down and deep into explaining how you can actually become wealthy, how you can actually become productive, how you can become free from the chains of industry that the world system has created. And one of them is having faith in God. Having faith in God. Having faith in God. Because without God, we are nothing. Without God, we can do nothing. So the Bible says. So if you really want to know how faith works, besides reading about it from the Bible, I believe this book would help you. He talked about money a lot, so I believe this book will help you get ahead with your faith in God. So this is the fourth book I read, and you should get it. How Faith Works by Fredrick K. Price. This is the fifth book I read, and the name of this book is Power of Imagination by Andrew Wommack. This book is a beautiful one. He says, unlocking your ability to receive from God. Andrew Wommack is of the view that, for faith to work, you must involve your imagination in it, which means that you can't just have faith alone. You have to put your imagination to work while getting faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So he was saying that hope is what stirs up imagination. Let me look at the introduction of the book, which says, imagination is the dynamo, the power source of life, but most people don't understand its importance. They don't understand that God built imagination in our makeup. What he said is actually true, because when we go back to the Bible to read it, and we see that actually it was through imagination that God created the world and everything that is in it, including us. For example, when he said, "Let us make man." Let us make man, that paints a picture of how man would look. And he said, let us make man in our image and likeness, which is image, imagination, image. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because these things are deeper than what I'm saying. It's a beautiful book by Andrew Wommack, and what I like about this book is that he talked about sin as a reason why we don't prosper as Christians. So at the back, like always, let me read. Too often, believers pray for healing but never experience it. They pray for prosperity but never receive it. Why? Because they don't know how to use their imagination the way God intended. They do not see themselves healed. They do not see themselves prosperous. They do not see themselves victorious. In the power of imagination, Andrew Wommack will unlock the power of your imagination and explain how you can put it to work, giving you hope for the future. Without it, you will never fulfill God's plan for your life. Circumstances will divert you and hardship will steal from you. But with it, you won't be able to lose for winning. Never underestimate the power of your imagination. Now, I cannot say that I believe wholly in what he said, but the power of your imagination is truly essential in receiving from God. First, and the most important factor in receiving from God is righteousness. And righteousness is basically doing what you know to be true and doing what God calls true. Because if you are in righteousness, you can't be lazy. If you are in righteousness, you can't steal. If you are in righteousness, you can't lie. If you are in righteousness, you cannot mishandle a position given to you. You cannot mismanage a position given to you. Power of Imagination, Andrew Wommack. You should really get this book. Then in the matter of importance, this is another ugly paperback book, but I'm very proud of this book because it was gifted to me by my brother, even though rats don't chop them in some places. But this was written by Watchman, and this is called Secrets to Spiritual Power. This book was given to me by my brother. As you can see, you see Wali Chibweze to Wali Uchechukwu. God bless my brother for all the spiritual upbringing he has been giving to me. He's just like my father in the spirit, even though he's just my immediate elder brother. God bless that guy for me. These are Watchman's writings, but compiled by Sentinel Culp. So it wasn't originally written by Watchman, but these are his writings and they were compiled by Sentinel Culp. Now, this is a beautiful book. It's a very deep book that I advise everyone who calls himself a Christian to read. They are so deep that, you can't just get the entire juice in just one reading. But let me just read for you a passage of it so you can get an idea of what I'm saying. So this passage says, a person has made no spiritual progress in his life if what he saw of the treasure of God's goodness to him on the day of his new birth and what he sees now are exactly the same. If what you see now as a Christian in translation of God's goodness and what you see in nearest future as the same thing, if you see both of them as the same thing, then you have made no spiritual progress. That is, what I interpret today as the goodness of God would change as time goes on. You understand? So that means that I have to grow. It doesn't mean spiritual progress if all my interpretations of God's goodness are what I mean today or what I understand today, and the same thing will still be what I understand in 5 years to come. So without further ado, I encourage you to read Secrets to Spiritual Power by Watchman. The last but not the least, which is the best book best book that I would advise anybody, not just Christians, anybody to read. You already know the book. You already know what I want to say, right? And this book is the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible changed my life. I don't know how to say it. I can't just explain to you how the Holy Bible changed my life. But I mean it when I say it. And if you are conversant with Nigeria, we had an 8 months ASU strike, and that was when I started reading the Bible deeper than I have ever read it. Before this year, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in the message of Jesus Christ. But then, one thing led to another, and I was seeking something that only God could give me. And thank God I found it. And I said 7 books I've read this year, but going by the contents of the Bible is not just a book. The Bible is a library of books. The Bible contains 66 books, and going by that, if I want to say that I've read books, I can say that I've read 71 books or so, or 72 books, because I read the entire books of the Bible, even though I was too scared. I was too scared to read the prophets, because he showed me what I was doing wrong. He showed me where I should improve, and the reason why I say this is because if I don't improve on them, I know the repercussions. I know the punishment that comes with stubbornness, that comes with insisting to do your will instead of God's will. So if I want to explain the Bible, I can start from now till tomorrow just talking about what this Bible has taught me. But let me just share a little testimony with you to show you how potent the power of the Bible is that beginning of this year, I stopped smoking weed. And till today, I haven't, attempted to smoke weed again. And this is my most potent testimony of the year. And I know that God will continue to, strengthen me to, have more testimonies, both spiritual, emotional, physical, financial, and all around academic. I used to be a dropout. I didn't go to school for 2 years, and I'm back in school. I'm writing exams. I am preparing to do my final year project. So I believe I wouldn't have been doing all these things because I know where I used to be before. I don't believe I would have been doing all these things if I didn't embrace the truths of the Bible. Every other book tries to give you information, but only the Bible gives you transformation. That is why the contents of the Bible are always attacked. That is why the God of the Bible is always attacked. One thing you should understand about this book is not just a book, it's the word of God. Because how could you explain the coming of Christ, which was prophesied in Isaiah, and then Christ came and he did exactly all the things that Isaiah prophesied? He's the only religious figure that his birth, death, crucifixion, and resurrection were foretold by the prophets in his nation. So there are too many evidence not to believe in Christ Jesus. There are too many evidence not to believe in the contents of the Bible. A lot of people say the Bible is not complete, but for the spread of the gospel, the Bible is complete as it is supposed to be. So this Bible is so potent, it's so powerful that I will not ever stop reading the Bible. I have finished reading the contents of the Bible. I've finished reading the entire Bible of this particular Bible, but I just got another one so I could read another Bible in different words, so I could, grasp the spirit of what God is saying. Because it's always good to read in different translations so you can understand to the barest minimum what God means when he says so. So I encourage you, my brothers and sisters who are watching this video, to get familiar with books that will change your life, books that will teach you something, and not just books that appeal to your emotions, appeal to your lust and all. There are times I used to read books like that. I read Fela's book. I read a book by one of the biggest comedians in America at that time, because I do comedy and I wanted to get inspiration. I read books by Richard Pryor, and he wasn't a good model to follow. Richard Pryor was practically hooked on crack. Fela used to smoke a lot of weed. And I read another book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I believe all these books were what led me to dropping out of school, because none of them talked good about education and all. So with no further, I don't want to talk further about how books actually can change your life, because what entertains you enters you. This is what Kola Iwo said. So let me compile these books again to show you that so that you can go to the market or find a PDF, download them, and read them in your leisure time, or you can actually make out time to educate yourself about these books. So let me get them. So these are the books again, 7 of them. These are the books, 7 of them. So I encourage you to expand your mind, try to become a better person in the next year, and I believe, I pray that we are going to be in a better place same time next year. This is the time where I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment. If you want to correct something I'm doing wrong, you are free. If you want to encourage me, you are free. If you want to donate, anything you want to do, I am here. I am here so you could help me grow my channel, help me, spread this word of God, change people's lives. So without further ado, peace.